Hey, Myles here at Tactical Hyve. Have you ever wondered how you should approach engaging two targets or threats if they are spread apart? One threat over here, a target, or one threat or target over here. Don't know how? Make sure to tune in. Welcome back to this week's dry fire and live fire session. We are continuing our talk about multiple target engagements or target transitions. And this time, what if you have targets or threats that are really spread apart? I'm talking about 180 degrees apart. One person to your left, one person to your right. We've talked about how, to use your knees and your feet, but there are specific techniques that you can use. One of them is we already discussed, but you're going to have a really hard lean, which might not be possible for some of you. And then there's another method, which is actually pretty simple, which a lot of people don't think about. They try to overcomplicate things, but it's actually very, very easy. So what we're going to do is play off of what we did last week. So I'm pretending there is one target here to my left, one target to the right, and we are going to do the first technique where we're talking about the knees. So we're going to kind of change the camera angle here so you can see what I'm talking about, and then I'll discuss the second technique after. All right, I have two targets, one to the right, one to the left, pretty much 180 degrees here, 180 degree turn. This is the dry fire portion, so it could be light switches or anything at your home, office, wherever you are. Obviously, I'm at a range right now, so I'm just gonna use those targets. So there are two situations here. We're gonna play off of what we've already discussed about bending our knee. And depending on what, the direction you're facing, that could change things up as well. But we're going to assume that we're neutral. We're facing here, right in the middle, and then we have two targets or threats, left or right. Okay, so one method is using our knee. We've already talked about this. If we are transitioning from right to left, what would we do? We bend our right knee. This allows me to turn 180 degrees, okay? So I can land a target here. Now, if I need to go the other direction, I shift my weight, bend my left knee, and now I go to the right, okay? I have my trusty DryFireMag here for the dry fire session, so if you want to have the trigger presses here, you can manipulate the trigger press whenever you're on target. But the idea here, again, is to do it properly with all mechanics, break your shot at the right moment, but focus on proper technique for this week. We are focusing on these wide transitions and what your legs are doing. So here, if I have my knee bent down really deep, just like this, okay, you can probably see some of the disadvantages here. All right, so if you have bad knees, you're putting a lot of weight. It could really hurt and be uncomfortable, okay? And then also, if I need to transition to the next side, it can be slow for some people because they're shifting all of this weight that might be here all the way to this side, okay? So that is the first method here. If I'm engaging one target here, I'll have my weight on the back, and I turn, weight on the back, okay? And just to remind you, if I'm moving from left to right, I'm bending my left knee. If I'm moving right to left, I'm bending my right knee, okay? So this method has its pros and cons. It can be slower, it can be uncomfortable, okay? Now let's just talk about this a little bit. Let's say if I was facing this target here first, okay? You still could do this method, but it's a little modified. So if I was shooting this, I now see a threat over here. Okay, this method, some people will take a step, all right, and then bend. Okay, you still can do that. So it's roughly the same thing. Again, pros and cons, you're going to have to try both to really determine what works best for you, okay? Now, there is also, even though there are two major techniques, it's not to say that you can't move, be fluid and flow from one technique to the other, because at the end of the day, it is situation dependent. A lot of things, will dictate what you're going to do, because the other method I'm going to show next is really simple and really easy, but it may not be the best course to take in certain situations, right? So the other one, let's say if I'm just facing here, okay? We're going to start neutral just like we did for the first technique. This is simply here, if I see a target there, I'm just going to take a step, square up to that target, break my shot, okay, or shots. I know there's another target behind me. I lead with my eyes, I turn, I'm going to take a step. And now I'm squared up to that next target. Really simple, really easy, but don't forget the proper details here. So if I'm going to turn to my right, there's a target over there right behind me here, okay? I do not just turn blindly. What do I need to do? I need to lead with my eyes. Lead with my eyes, see where I'm going, and then break the shot, okay? So that is if I'm neutral here. I just take a step here and another step. If I'm faced towards one target here, it's just as simple and as easy, okay? So I'm here, I break the shot, okay? I'm gonna break a shot, lead with my eyes, my body turns, and now I'm just going to turn. I could literally walk towards the camera just like that. Very, very simple. So you might be asking, okay, like, you know, when would you not want to do that, okay? So there might be situations where I may need to lean across. Let's say I might not be able to just do this, okay? Maybe there is something in the way, maybe a barricade or a wall or something that is forcing me to kind of lean, right? That is one hypothetical example, okay? So there's lots of different situations, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. If you are watching this series, just focus on the basics here. The 2 ways to attack the Y transition here. We are either going to bend our knee, okay, nice and deep, and this is, I would recommend this, just as a quick aside, I would recommend this if you know, now obviously no one really knows in real life. In a competition you would know, but in real life you never know if you need to engage other targets. But this is a good position to end at. Why? Because even for me, I'm pretty limber, but I feel pretty stiff here. And if I had to get out of this position, it's gonna be slow because I have to have all my weight here. Now there are different techniques in footwork, but I'm not going to go dive into that right now, but still for your average person, they're gonna be kind of bundled up here, all right? So the key here for your dry fire session, once again, you don't really need a gun to do this, is just to work the footwork. The idea is to make sure you're turning your hips toward whatever target that you want to engage. Really simple, nothing magical about this. But if you are a beginner shooter and you're first learning this, this is not going to come natural. For some people with who've been playing athletics all their life and different sports, it might be very easy. For others, you do have to put in the reps where you're even this might be awkward for you. Right? Some people I've seen, they kind of turn. Now notice this, my target is here, but I didn't fully turn, okay? Sometimes people who are not athletic, footwork can be a very challenging thing. So you want to practice this slow, particularly these really wide transitions with the knees. I don't want you to hurt your knees, so go slow first, okay? For some of you, if you know you have bad knees, you might completely forego that. Right? So very simple here. You're doing everything the same that we did in previous live fire sessions. 1 shot to no shot. It might be this. 1 shot to no shot. Okay? Then other side, 1 shot to no shot. All right? But I'm ensuring that when I get to the second target, my sights are on target. Then you can add 1 shot to 1 shot, 2 shots to 1 shot, so on and so forth. All right? As you're doing it, the checklist is always going to be in the back of your mind. Are you following all the details that we've discussed? And are you really doing what we're doing in this actual lesson, which is bending the knee, turning the hips towards the target. Next one would be simple as this: break a shot, turn, and stop. Going the other way, maybe I'm doing 1 shot to 1 shot, 1 shot, 1 shot, okay? And then so on and so forth. So that is a really simple dry fire session. But make sure you're putting in the reps. If it's very simple for you, just work on the speed. And again, it's another opportunity for you to improve your fundamentals that we've covered and the fundamentals and the details that we've covered throughout this series. Now let's talk a little bit about live fire, which is going to be a validation of what we're doing during dry fire. All right, so for the live fire session, some of you may not be able to do this because clearly it depends on the facilities that you have at your disposal. But if you have an outdoor range or access to an outdoor range where you can do this, then you definitely want to practice this. The dry fire is absolutely going to help, but live fire, you want to do this correctly, or give live fire a chance as well, because you want to know if you're going to have a stable platform when you're shooting. Particularly if you are doing this method where you're using your knees, some people will find this very uncomfortable and it will affect the accuracy of their shots, okay? Also, imagine if you're taking multiple shots, if my weight is back and I continue to shoot, I might lose my balance. So this is something you have to consider if you're using that method as well, versus just turning in. You have a good stance, you're really going to be able to manage recoil much, much better. So we're going to start off neutral here. What would happen is if you pick your left side, what you're going to do is you're going to lead with your eyes. My head begins to turn, bend my knee, take a shot. From here, I'm going to lead with my eyes. My body turns, I'm using my knee, and I break the shot. Now I'm keeping my finger on the trigger because I know I'm engaging, and also I would actually be resetting and prepping as I'm moving, but because I'm talking about this, I'm going slow. Okay, so it would be shot. If I know I need to engage another target, I'm resetting my fingers off the trigger. It's coming on once I have sights on another threat and I'm beginning to get ready to take another shot. Okay, but notice when I'm here, now it's my left knee. All right, I'm gonna go from left to right, left, right. I'm prepping my trigger. I'm ready to take a shot if I need to. I can stop right here. One full rep would be something like this. One shot, okay? Then after, if you are comfortable with that, going at that pace, then it might be something faster. Okay, but notice I'm bending my knees. The next method is very simple. I pick my first target. I'm literally just turning towards my target. Nothing special here, okay? You've been doing this throughout this series. I break my shot and turn, and I stop. Next iteration, break my shot, turn, break my shot. While I'm doing this, I'm ensuring that I have accurate shots and all the fundamentals. I'm going through that checklist and mental checklist in my head. Just like everything we've done, after that, 2 shots, 3 shots, so on and so forth. Every time you do this though, you want to make sure, particularly for those who are beginning, if I'm doing the second method, even though it's simple, okay, some of you might end up like this. I'm going to do this incorrectly. Notice how I am facing that target here. Notice where I'm going to be facing on the next target. Okay. Notice I am not turned all the way. I should be facing the target. Okay. So it's a very simple live fire exercise. As I mentioned, it is identical to the dry fire, but now we're validating if you did everything correctly. So if you are moving incorrectly during dry fire, it's going to translate the same way during live fire. That wraps up today's video. I hope you guys liked it. Why transitions are simple, but they're a little bit different. You have to consider a few details there. And again, there are 2 different methods. You will hear some people argue one, for one against the other, but in reality, it's situation dependent and it's going to depend on what's comfortable for you. As always, if you liked the video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Let us know what you thought in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I'll see you guys next week.